All right, welcome to today's Explainer. I'm your host, but you know what? For this particular journey, I want you to imagine me speaking with the voice of the ancient dragon spirit itself, acting as your very own literature professor. Today, we're diving deep into a stunning character study based on the text Architect of the Internal Sacredness. We'll be analyzing this epic, almost graphic novel-style journey of a protagonist who goes from a state of total, absolute spiritual famine to a profound sense of unified wholeness. So, let's jump right in and explore exactly how one man navigated the crushing weight of a modern, mechanized world to forge his own soul.
To really wrap our heads around our protagonist's journey, we kind of have to start right in the middle of the action. The text says, within him, the dragon spirit still burned, an alchemical fire that had permanently altered the way he viewed the gaping abyss of human suffering. Now, this isn't just a bit of flowery poetry. It establishes the massive stakes of our story right away. It shows us that a profound internal transformation is already underway. This alchemical fire sets the stage for a guy who stares into the abyss of suffering, not with despair, but with this burning, intense drive to change it from the inside out.
Section 1. The Cold Steel Village.
So, we kick things off by looking at the actual setting our protagonist returns to. It's a village built entirely of stone and steel, a place where the old, crumbling temple is literally just a hollow memory. The author masterfully contrasts what they call the effortless efficiency of rationalist supremacy with the devastating psychic vacuum it ends up creating. It's such a powerful metaphor for the external pressures that can completely crush the human soul. I mean, think about it. The town runs like this perfect, hyper-rational machine, and yet the citizens who live there are trapped in a deep, agonizing spiritual famishment.
This brilliantly illustrates the core conflict of the whole first act. On one hand, we've got the lifeless, external architecture, the cold steel towers dominating the village. But on the other, we have the protagonist's organic internal spirit, that burning alchemical fire we were just talking about. The author really wants us to feel those harsh, rigid, unforgiving angles of the steel pressing right up against the vital, living warmth of the human soul. It is the ultimate clash between the mechanical external world we've built and the organic life we desperately need to foster on the inside.
Section 2. Wearing the Golden Mask.
As our guy walks these brutal steel streets, he doesn't look around and see enemies. Instead, he sees mirrors reflecting who he used to be. Here, the author introduces a seriously profound psychological metaphor, the golden mask. It's a facade the villagers wear every single day to hide their internal shame. It represents all those little ways individuals in a society hide their true, complex, and, let's face it, usually messy human nature behind a shiny, socially acceptable exterior. They are starving on a spiritual level, but they're walking around smiling with faces made of gold.
Because hiding behind that shiny gold facade is what the text vividly calls the ugliest man lurking in their shadows. Now, speaking to you directly as the dragon spirit guiding this analysis, I want to break the fourth wall just for a second. Look at this graphic novelesque imagery and really ask yourself, what shadows are you hiding behind your own mask? The absolute brilliance of this text is that it forces the reader to confront the very same shame they try so hard to conceal from the rest of the world.
Section 3. Banners of Tribal Aggression.
Suddenly, this great discord rips through the village square. Notice how the villagers engage in this desperate external search for meaning. They immediately start rallying behind new political banners and shouting loudly for justice. But the text makes a brilliantly impartial observation here regarding their internal void. It points out that this tribalistic aggression is actually just a regressive defense mechanism. They are literally trying to fill their own spiritual emptiness by fighting external political battles.
The contrast here is incredibly stark. The villagers are putting up a facade of virtue, but underneath, it's just a shroud for deep resentment and a craving for legal revenge. Contrast that with our protagonist. He holds what the story calls the mirror of justice. Because he has already done the brutal internal work, he doesn't get swept up in all this hollow political tribalism. He sees right through the total emptiness of the roaring crowd, observing them with this clear-eyed internal clarity.
All of this tension builds to a really powerful climax. A woman approaches the protagonist, and her golden mask is physically cracked by the sheer weight of a strange malaise that's been haunting her life. She points straight at the cold steel towers and asks him this desperate, haunting question. Where is the new temple? How do we stop the rot in our hearts? This theatrical plea is the exact catalyst for the protagonist's ultimate lesson. She's desperately looking for an external building, a brand new piece of architecture, to heal a deeply internal wound.
Section 4.
Awakening the internal judge. Now, you might expect him to point her toward a new political banner or a different steel tower, but he doesn't. Instead, he introduces this mind-blowing concept of the Great Reason. The text describes this as the mighty ruler and unknown sage residing in the blood. We really need to unpack this for a second. The Great Reason represents an organic, biological, internal truth that completely supersedes the cold, mechanical rationalism of the village. He's making her realize that true salvation absolutely cannot be dictated by the state, and it sure can't be voted on by a roaring crowd. It has to live within.
He tells the woman that he actually stopped being a breaker of tablets a long time ago and had instead become his own internal judge. This is a massive, game-changing shift in his character arc. He's no longer just some youthful rebel trying to tear down the old, crumbling rules of society. No, he has matured into the architect of his own internal morality. He takes full responsibility for his own values rather than just constantly reacting against the external world.
Section 5. Transforming the Inner Darkness.
Imagine we're flipping through the sequential panels of a graphic novel right now, charting the exact path to wholeness. The protagonist lays out 4 highly specific steps for her. Step 1. You have to stop running from the chaos within. Step 2. Say a holy yeah to the consequences of your own nature, basically radical self-acceptance. Step 3. Actually invite that ugliest man, the very shadow you've been hiding, inside. And finally, step 4. By doing this really hard labor, you stop being a broken bridge and finally become a unified subject.
This brings us to the absolute beating heart of the story. The protagonist explains that the poison of her hidden darkness cannot, under any circumstances, be purged by the state or the crowd. Instead, it has to be integrated as fuel for her own transformation. You don't destroy your shadows, guys. You harness them. You literally use the heat of your deepest shames and fears to power the evolution of your own soul. And that right there, that is the true meaning of the alchemical fire we discussed at the very beginning.
Section 6. Architect of Internal Sacredness.
Notice how our protagonist never actually builds a physical temple of stone for these villagers to worship in. Instead, he just becomes a living blueprint, officially ushering in the age of the hero. The core thesis of this whole narrative is that true heroism doesn't start by changing the world's external architecture or waving a bunch of political banners. It begins with the courageous authorship of your own story, right in the face of the void. He becomes a fully unified subject, the architect of his own meaning.
So your dragon professor is going to leave you with one final thought today, drawn straight from the climax of the text. In a modern world of cold stone and steel that has entirely forgotten how to dream, will you be the one who absolutely refuses to sleep? Will you stop looking to the roaring crowd, finally invite your shadows inside, and turn your own gaping abyss into the foundation for a new internal sacredness? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the architecture around you, but even more importantly, keep questioning the architecture within you. See you next time.